Building wealth for the future is simple, but it's not easy. In fact, there are some elements of it that are really hard, but if you can master them, not only are you guaranteed to build wealth, you'll see benefits in many other areas of your life too. Hi and welcome back to the channel. My name is Pete Matthew. I am a chartered financial planner based here in the UK. And I've worked with people at all stages of the wealth building journey, and they all, without exception, have built wealth by mastering these hard skills. Hard skill number one, delaying gratification. Doesn't sound fun, does it? We live in a world where pretty much everything is available anytime we want, from Amazon Prime, next day or even same day delivery, to Deliveroo, to Uber. Our lives are easier than they've ever been. And that makes it hard to wait for stuff. I mean, believe me, I wrote the book on this. I've been known to pay a little bit more for something just because it'll come more quickly, which is a really bad thing to admit on a finance channel, I know. But I bet you're the same to some degree. If we don't have to wait, why should we? Well, unless we're talking about small throwaway purchases that don't matter that much, then building wealth by definition is about waiting and storing up treasure, money for the future. Now, I would like to retire now, but I can't. So I have to defer that urge and wait to be in a position where I can indulge it. Now, importantly for our finances, if we can delay getting stuff until we're in a position to afford them, we will save interest payments on debt. And debt just makes other people rich and us poorer. And this holds true in other areas of life as well. Food tastes better if we're hungry at mealtimes as opposed to if we snack throughout the day. A holiday is more enjoyable if we save up for it instead of dreading the credit card bill when we return. Here's hard skill number two, budgeting. It's impossible to talk about money skills without mentioning budgeting. And nor would I want to, because the skill of budgeting, which is simply spending less than you earn and then putting that extra to good use. Budgeting is the foundation for all financial success. I did a video called The Ultimate Guide to Budgeting. I'll link to that up here and in the description below. And that video gives you everything you need to know and everything you need to do to get budgeting right. But budgeting is also about looking forward and giving your money a job instead of just letting money flow in and out of your hands without really knowing it. Budgeting is perhaps the ultimate expression of being intentional with your money. That's one of my favorite words. It forces you to think about your money, make plans for it, and then execute those plans. It teaches you to put yourself and your own future first. It's just so important. And budgeting resources has a million crossover benefits, whether it's allocating resources in a sports team or a business, or marshalling your energy by getting an early night before the big day. We have finite resources of all kinds, and we can be intentional about how we use them, or we can get to the end of our lives and regret the wasted use of whatever we were given. The third money skill, which has massive benefits for our future wealth, is to commit to small, regular increases. Let's say you have a 20-year time span to invest your money over, and you can budget £250 a month to put away for your future. Well, assuming you get a 6% return on your investments, you'll end up with £116,978 put away, which is not too bad at all. But if you keep the £250 per month at that level for 20 years, you'll barely notice it by the end. So what if, instead, you increase the amount you put away each year? Well, if you increase your savings rate by 5%, that would increase your 250 quid a month to £262.50 a month in year 2. You will end up with £176,120 after 20 years. Now, yes, by the end of it, you'll be saving over £630 a month, but you'll have got there slowly, like turning up the heat under the frog, or some other analogy which is less cruel to animals. And if you make that rate of annual increase to your savings at 10%, you end up with just under 280 grand put away. These small regular increases don't actually feel that hard at the time, and they can make a huge difference down the road. And the same goes for small increases in the weights if you lift at the gym, the little improvements you make each day at work that lead to an earlier promotion, or the practice that leads to better keyboard solos. Whatever you want to improve requires continual, small, incremental increases. And that's much easier than keeping things the same for ages and then realizing you have a huge chasm between where you are and where you want to be. 3 down, 2 to go. If it's useful, please take just half a second to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. It really does help us stay visible, so thank you. Hard skill number 4 is taking risks. And if we never take any risks in life, never push the envelope, step outside our comfort zone, insert whatever metaphor you want there, if we don't do that stuff, we will never move forward. And likewise, if we never expose our money to some carefully thought out risk, then we'll never be wealthy. Instead, we will see our money ravaged by inflation. We'll be getting poorer by the day. Now, there are all kinds of risks to take into account when it comes to building wealth, but the most obvious one is investment risk, the possibility that the value of our investments might fall. Actually, that isn't a risk at all, it's a certainty. All investments fall as well as rise. And the trick is to ride out these ups and downs over time and keep investing throughout. Actually, the biggest risk of all, I think, is that we will bottle it and do something stupid, like sell out our investments at the lowest point. But risk is something that all wealth builders need to be comfortable with. And I did an ultimate guide video to risk a little while. I'll link it up there and in the notes. But risk is what keeps life interesting. It's what helps push us to approach the person we've been attracted to for ages. It's what makes us try a new approach at work, which then becomes part of the system and gets us recognized and promoted. Without risk, life is boring, and who wants that? And the final skill that will serve us well in both money and life is knowing when to leave things well alone and not to tinker. I see investors try to optimize their portfolio at the worst possible times, usually when markets are down or very volatile. They might try and pull out all their money into cash, waiting for a better time to invest, but that just never ends well. This is simply our fight or flight mechanism urging us to do something, anything, to try and improve our situation. But the problem is that response just isn't evolved enough to understand that investment markets are much bigger and faster moving than we are. Investors are much better off sitting tight, not checking the value of their portfolio too often, and resisting the urge to tinker. If you are intentional and thoughtful about how you set things up in the first place, you shouldn't need to change things too often anyway, unless your circumstances change. And the same is true for other areas of life. Set your coffee machine up right at the start, it'll reward you with a decent cup every time, but if you're continually tweaking with the settings, you could get some pretty dicey cups of coffee. Can you tell I've got a new coffee machine recently? A very personal example, that. Set a plan for how you're going to progress at work, or your strategy for the game, and stick to it unless circumstances force you to do otherwise. If you're building a house, don't keep changing the design as you go along. Your architect and your builder will hate you, and the end result probably won't be as good as you'd hoped anyway. So there we go. 5 money skills that will set your wealth building up right, but are also transferable to other areas of life. Tell me, are there any others that I've forgotten? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, folks. If it was useful, you know what to do. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next video.